Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the fourth part of the ultimate childhood trauma iceberg. But first, if you didn't already notice, chair, I have upgraded. I'm no longer banished to the dungeon on the floor, arching my back until I get scoliosis trying to record these scuffed ass videos for you guys. Chair time. Still no desk, though. You guys are not on a desk right now. Before, you were on my guitar amp. Now, you're on my bed. And whatever works is how we're gonna do it. Also, we're not even close to being done with this iceberg yet. We are on part 4, and to this point, that was as long as these series have gotten. This one, I think, has 12 tiers, and we are just finishing tier 4 today. So if you guys have any suggestions on icebergs you'd like me to cover to kind of break up the videos in the meantime, let me know down in the comments below. But let's get into this. First up on this list, we have Let Me Hear Your War Cry. Now, there's a very popular movie called Full Metal Jacket that was released in 1987 and directed by Stanley Kubrick. And in that movie, there's a scene with the drill sergeant, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, as he's yelling at the recruits during basic training. And he comes up with his little flat brim hat, and he comes up to one of the guys and he says, "Show me your war face. Let me see your war face." However, what we're talking about now is not "let me see your war face," but "let me hear your war cry." So this one is a parody of that scene from Full Metal Jacket, but it's a YouTube video that was released in 2010. Now in this one, it's the exact same scene, but instead of it playing out how it usually does, both the drill sergeant and the recruit that he's yelling at have like a blank, expressionless, like doll face with their open mouths. They're just like yelling at like a very low pitch that slowly gets higher. It's like one of those videos where you hear the audio that sounds like it's just constantly going up and never ever coming back down. It's like they're doing that, but just back and forth to each other. And there's no expression. It's just like a painted over face with like lifeless eyeballs. And I'll show you a clip because I literally can't explain it any better than that. Okay, next up on this list, we have Local 58. Now, just doing one entry on an iceberg does not do Local 58 justice at all. This is one of the pioneers of analog horror on YouTube and has been around since the very beginning. For those of you that need a little debriefing on what Local 58 is, Local 58 is an analog horror YouTube series created by Chris Straub. The series is about a news network called Local 58. The broadcasts from this news channel consist of the following: unnatural and disturbing cartoons, public service announcements, and much, much more. Local 58 is an analog horror classic for a reason, and spoiling it would be a disservice to all of you. If you haven't seen it yet, please do yourself the pleasure of going and watching it for the first time through. I will not spoil anything. I will not say anything more. I think enough has already been said. It is wonderful, and if I'm gonna cover it, I'm gonna give it its own video because it deserves its own video. Next up, we have Marvel Zombies. Now, this entry could mean a couple different things. There's zombies throughout the Marvel universe and a lot of different comic books, but there actually is a comic book series with the name Marvel Zombies as well. The first issue of said comic book came out in 2005. The series is a dark and twisted alternate reality take on the Marvel universe, where many of Marvel's iconic heroes and villains are turned into flesh-eating zombies. It was created by writer Robert Kirkman, who is best known for The Walking Dead, and artist Sean Phillips. What's particularly disturbing about this series is that although these super individuals have become flesh-eating zombies, they still retain remnants of their powers, meaning they're not only using these powers to fight and kill each other, but kill what's left of humanity as well. The series is known for its graphic violence and horror elements as it explores themes like the loss of humanity, the breakdown of moral compasses, and the consequences of a world overrun by the undead. Madness Combat is an animated web series created by Crinkles, or real name Matt Jolly. The series is known for its fast-paced, hyper-violent action, surreal storytelling, and minimalistic art style. It first premiered in 2002 on the Newgrounds platform, and over the years, it has grown into a cult classic with a large following. The series centers around the character Hank J. Wimbledon, the lone, seemingly unstoppable warrior who battles through waves of enemies in a chaotic and often nonsensical world. Madness combat is mostly driven by its violent combat sequences, with characters engaging in intense, brutal fights using a variety of weapons, from firearms to hand-to-hand combat. Though the series is not for everybody due to its graphic nature, it is beloved by many for its influence on early internet animation. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is the 6th game in the Legend of Zelda game series. Developed by Nintendo and released in 2000 for the Nintendo 64, the story revolves around Link, the main protagonist of all the other Zelda games, who is searching for his lost friend Navi. While searching, he ends up in the mysterious land of Termina, where he encounters a powerful mask known as Majora's Mask. The mask is connected to a mysterious evil force that threatens to destroy the world in just 3 days, by bringing about the moon's crashing into Termina. Majora's Mask is often regarded as one of the darker, more unsettling entries in the Zelda series. This is due to its eerie atmosphere, themes of death and loss, and some disturbing moments. The most disturbing of all being the imminent destruction of Termina that will surely result in the death of everyone. MisterDavie is a YouTube channel created in November of 2011. The channel has a total of 2 videos on it. The first one being Derpy Gets Pranked, and the second one being Cupcakes. Now, these 2 videos are My Little Pony animations, and the title and the thumbnail seem innocent enough at a first glance. But that is so far from the truth. In the first video mentioned, Derpy Gets Pranked, the other ponies are playing a nice, fun, whimsical prank. They leave a cupcake out on a plate and lure Derpy in to come get it. After doing so, they then drop an anvil on Derpy's head, immediately killing him. A pool of blood then forms where their head used to be, as their lifeless body tries to crawl out from underneath the anvil. That's it. It's so brutal and gross, and you can already tell where this next one is going. And the second one, Cupcakes, is notorious for being one of the most difficult things to watch, and I could not agree more. In the episode called Cupcakes, Pinkie Pie drugs Rainbow Dash and then tortures and mutilates her in the most graphic, bloody, and gory ways you could imagine. I have jokingly said on this channel a handful of times, please do not search this up. Don't you dare. Don't you dare search this up. This is a big no-no. And a lot of the time I'm like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. They're gonna go and they're gonna look at this, even though I told them not to, because you guys are mischievous, little rebellious fellas. The amount of discomfort and unenjoyment I got from watching this, not even like using fun characters from a light-hearted animation or TV show like My Little Pony eased the pain at all. It was so graphic. It was like Pinkie Pie put Rainbow Dash through every single saw contraption that you could ever think of. And I know some of you guys are going to think, the more he says don't watch it, the more you want to watch it. Go ahead. But I warned you. Also, with the power of my editor, I have now changed out of my hoodie and into a t-shirt. Isn't that incredible? Nyctophobia is an extreme fear of the dark. The phobia is very common among children, but can affect people of all ages. People with this specific anxiety disorder may have trouble sleeping, anxiety attacks, and may not want to leave the house after dark. Now, although anybody can have nyctophobia, it is most common in individuals who have had traumatic experiences with the dark. Next up on this list, we have PSAs, and I think there's a number of different reasons why PSAs can be disturbing to any individual, but most definitely to children. Some PSAs use graphic images or unsettling scenarios to convey the seriousness of a message, which sometimes can be too much for a child to process emotionally. Topics like death, violence, illness, or substance abuse might be too difficult for children to understand fully, and the seriousness of these issues might be distressing or unsettling to them. Another thing that I think is really prevalent in PSAs is emotional manipulation. Some PSAs might try to evoke strong emotions like fear or sadness to get their point across. and the presence of these strong emotions can be overwhelming for a child who might not have the coping skills to manage those feelings yet. Peppa Pig and the Bacon is a super messed up Spanish Peppa the Pig animation. To start the animation, Peppa is in a back alley with a very shady individual with a trench coat, and he whips that stuff open, and he's got bacon on the inside of his trench coat, and he feeds it to Peppa. And obviously, this is cannibalism. But to make it even worse than cannibalism, Peppa loves that shit. She is craving that stuff. So she goes home, and of course, her responsible parents will not let her eat the remnants of her brothers and sisters, so she attacks her family and attempts to cannibalize them. No, she straight up does cannibalize her father, which is rad. And if that wasn't enough, once they lock her away in her room to prevent her from eating other people, she takes a razor and she starts cutting slices of bacon off of herself so that she can feed this sensation. But still, way more manageable than the My Little Pony animation. So if you're gonna watch something messed up today, I would recommend Peppa the Pig and not My Little Pony. Taken out of context, that doesn't sound that bad. In context, that sounds horrifying. Redeads and Gibdos are recurring enemies in the Legend of Zelda series. The Redeads emit a high-pitched scream and freeze Link in his tracks. While Link is frozen, they grab hold of him and drain him of his life. Gibdos are undead mummified corpses, commonly appearing within graveyards and dungeons. In some games, they are able to use a petrifying gaze to stun Link in a similar fashion to the Redeads. Now, not only are these enemies some of the most visually disturbing in the entire series, but this game mechanic that allows them to freeze you and prevent you from doing anything can be game-ending in a lot of scenarios, and probably is a reason why a lot of kids get anxiety from it, because if you can't do anything and you're just getting eaten alive by these guys, there's nothing more terrifying than that. Now, although the majority of us enjoy going on roller coasters as adults, I can think of a multitude of reasons why a kid would absolutely hate them. First of all, roller coasters go very high up in the sky. They have very quick and jagged movements a lot of the time. That alone could be enough to scare a kid. Second of all, you are put into this death mechanism, and you are locked in there, and there is nothing you can do about it. Now, I personally love roller coasters, but imagine if you were a kid and you got put in this big metal buggy, and all you saw ahead of you was just a treacherous journey of a train track. And now that you're in that seat, you are stuck there, and as soon as that thing gets moving, you're not getting off of it until it's over. That feeling of being out of control could be really overwhelming for a kid, especially for their first time. Speaking of first time, if it's not their first time and they've had previous traumatic experiences with it, which I feel like a lot of us have, they're going to be really hesitant to go on it again. Now, although we already mentioned PSAs on this list, we also have another entry referring to them in school shooting PSAs specifically. Now, everything from the previous section I feel like is still appropriate and applies to this one. But there's a couple more things that I think increases the fear factor a little bit for kids for this one. Almost every single kid has experienced school before. And when you hear about these PSAs that could potentially make that environment that you've become so familiar with now unsafe, it gives you a sense of unease. You're like, this is supposed to be like my home away from home. Like, I spend a lot of my hours here. If I'm not hanging out with my friends or at home with my family, I'm at school and I have all my friends here and I love it here. And a lot of the time it can be a great place. But once you start instilling these fears, it kind of takes away from the novelty of the place and it makes it feel less secure than you thought it was. An anglerfish is a deep sea fish mostly known for its unique and creepy appearance. They live in the darkest depths of the sea, often too deep so that light cannot reach them. One of the most distinctive features of the anglerfish is the little bioluminescent node thing that they have that hangs in front of their face. Now, this thing is used as a lure in this dark, deep sea. Other fish will see this, and of course, since sunlight doesn't even get down there, it'll be one of the only sources of light they see, and they're instantly attracted to it. Now, although this makes him a terrifying predator for other deep sea fish, because you're not even going to know what you're looking at until you're right up in his face and he's eating your ass. But in almost every single media or cartoon or animation appearance, the anglerfish is always the big bad, scary, creepy abomination that nobody likes. For example, in the show Finding Nemo, which I think is where a lot of this childhood trauma comes from, is seeing Nemo run into this anglerfish for the first time and seeing the horrifying appearance of this monstrosity. I'm sorry to break it to you, little anglerfish buddy, but when you're that ugly and the media hate you so much that they portray you as the bad guy, how could kids not hate you? But anyways, guys, that's all the time I have for today. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for all the support you guys have given me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.